Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the December 15, 2020 joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and Glendale Housing Authority. Due to evolving situation with COVID-19 and health recommendations from LA County Health Department, the Glendale City Council meeting will be available to the public electronically. Due to social distancing requirements, the public will not be able to attend the meeting. This meeting can be viewed on Spectrum and Charter Cable Channel 6 and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. You may also stream online through our website, www.glendaleca.gov, by scrolling all the way to the bottom of the web page and selecting live streaming, which is the third icon from the left. For public comments and questions during the meeting, call 818-937-8100, which is on the screen. Please do not call in advance of the agenda item. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Brotman.
Here.
Devine.
Here.
Kasakian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Mayor Agajanian.
Present.
And roll
Thank
call
you.
for Housing Authority, please.
Authority Member Agajanian.
Present.
Brotman.
Here.
Kasakian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Parazian.
Here.
Chair Devine.
Here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item, please.
The agenda for the Tuesday, December 15, 2020 joint public meeting of the City Council and the Housing Authority was posted on December 9th, 2020 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. Next item, please.
One would be community development regarding a request to note and file the 2019-2020 Low and Moderate Income Housing Asset Fund, LMIHAF, annual report. A City Council motion to note and file the fiscal year 2019-2020 LMIHAF annual report in accordance with California Health and Safety Code 34176.1.
Mr. Gulani.
Yes, good afternoon. Mayor Agajanian, members of City Council, Housing Authority Chair Devina, and members of the Housing Authority. I'm going to turn it over to Pamela Jackson, our Housing Coordinator, to provide a report on this item for you today.
Ms. Jackson.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor Agajanian,
Good
Authority Chair Devine, members of the City Council and the Housing Authority. I'm Pam Jackson, the Housing Coordinator for the city, and I'm here before you today to request that you note and file our annual Low and Moderate Income Housing Asset Fund report. This report is required each year by the state. We report on the balance of the fund, deposits made to the fund, assets held, and we also conduct required tests. And I'll highlight a few items from the report this year. At the end of the last fiscal year, the fund balance was $9.4 million. We deposited $1.2 million to the fund, and a majority of those deposits came from the city's agency loan repayment, which is a result of the dissolution of redevelopment back in 2012. We acquired a new asset for future development, which is 515 Pioneer Drive. And we lost one first-time homebuyer loan when the owner of that property sold their home on the open market and paid off their loan. This year, we were required to conduct a senior housing test. And in that test, we calculate the percentage of senior housing that we've developed over the past 10 years in relation to the overall number of affordable housing rental units that we developed in that same time frame. If our percentage of senior housing rises above 50%, then we aren't able to use this fund for future development of senior housing until we bring the percentage back down below 50%. So this year we passed that test as our senior housing encompassed 20.65% of our affordable housing development over the past 10 years. So those are the things I wanted to highlight from the report. And with that, I can take any questions you might have.
Is there any question, from Ms. Jackson? Okay. Hearing none, I just have question from Mr. Phil Lanzafame.
Yes, sir.
I wish I would have asked before, but however.
Actually, I do have a question, but I'll wait.
Okay, you have question? Please go ahead.
I do have a question on
Rothman.
that. Just out of interest on that senior housing test that we do. We do it over 10 years. And I think this might have been in the staff report, but if we were to look at that over a shorter period of time, what does it look like? I guess I'm thinking as we're going into the future, how is that percentage going to change? But if we were to look at it over the last 2, 3, 5 years, would we be much higher on our senior?
Well, over the past, I guess the last project that we did was Vista. And there were only 2 projects over the past 10 years that were specifically for seniors. So Vista Grande Court is the most recent one. And then Cypress, I'd have to look at the year. It may be around 2015, 14. So if you're talking 3 years, 2, 3 years, you're looking at Vista Grande, and we've done 65 units.
So what?
Housing. So the percentage,
It would be 100% if you were looking
yeah,
the last 2 years.
yeah.
I'm trying to get a sense of that balance because I guess I understand where the state is coming from, right? They don't want agencies just building a lot of senior housing because that tends to be politically the easier thing to do, right? So they don't want all the senior housing built and not housing for other groups. And I'm just kind of curious. So I know we're like 20. What did you say? 25% or 20?
20%, 20.65%.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of curious, like where the trend line is, if you know what I mean.
That's really up to the council. You have some capacity to do more senior housing. And in fact, that's what you've done. Now, when we look at this, Pam, do we need to look at this every year or every 5 years?
It's every year for this test.
Every year. So when we look at this in, let's say, 3 years, we're going to have a much higher senior population development because of the units that we're building on Broadway. And depending on when the other units, family type units, come on Pioneer, that may or may not be right around the 50% level over the 10-year period.
Yeah.
Yes,
So that would be interesting. It would be interesting if you could just kind of keep us appraised of how that should be going, because we're doing a lot of with Vista Grand Court. What is it? Vista? Did I say that right?
Mr. Grande.
Vista Court.
Vista Grande, and with the Broadway, like that's changing our mix, right? And I know we have the legacy stuff from prior years. So when we look at 10 years, we'll still probably be below 50, but it'd just be interesting for you to kind of keep us with a sense of how that balance is developing. That's all I'm kind of getting at here.
And the probably first chance that we have to do that would be when we come back with Pioneer and the council sets that ratio of senior to family to special needs in that.
All right, thanks.
I want to go to page 6 of the report. There is a page 6 of the report. There is a chart on top of the page. I don't know if we can show it here or not, but however, if we can't, I will read it. Number of assisted senior rental units, 82 since 2010, January 1st, 2010 to January 1st, 2020. Number of total assisted rental units, 397. Senior housing percentage, 20.65. So I was asking that we do not have enough senior housing, then this shows, this report, it says that. So we have only 20.65% for seniors. So balance of it, 79.35% is otherwise. And the numbers we are seeing here, out of 397 past 10 years, only 82 was geared toward seniors. So even we add this coming one, which is, let's say it's both in the both building on the Broadway, will be basically maybe 166, I'm not sure, but let's say it is the maximum of 166, the both building, still we're gonna have 248. When you look at it, again, it's way low, less than like something like 35% of the affordable housing will be affordable. So I want to bring something to attention of Mr. Lanza-Fahim on page 2 of the report. We are saying the percentage in the history, it says what? The percentage of much different over the history of the affordable housing program. Of the 1,289 rental affordable units assisted by Glendale since 1978. And I was referring to this number and I was told it's not 1,289, it's like 1,800. But this is the report, it says clearly. Affordable housing program of the 1,289 rental affordable units assisted by Glendale since 1978. Is Mr. Lanza-Fahim online?
I am.
So then I was right. And you were disputing with me a year ago or 2 years ago. This is your report. And I was giving the exact same number.
I think the 1,800 number is total units that we've assisted, including all of our first-time home buyers, we used to have a rehab program, loan program, and all of the life wrap and all those. But this number, I think, is a consistent number that we've had, even going back when we were talking about the rent control discussion back in 2016. I think the number was pretty consistent.
Okay, anyway.
And if I'm wrong, I apologize, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, thank you. I'm sorry. Do I have a motion for this item?
Yes, I'll move the item.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brotman,
Yes.
Devine. Councilmember Devine,
I don't see it.
Yes.
Yes, he said yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Agajanian.
Yes. I guess we have to go for housing now? Or?
We
don't
need we don't need a vote for housing. do
One
we?
more item, Mayor.
Oh,
No, we don't.
okay. Let's go. Thank you. What's next on the agenda?
Community Service and Parks regarding fiscal year 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan, Substantial Amendments, CDBG, CV3 for Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Emergency Solution Grant, and Home Investment Partnership Act related to CARES Act funding. A, City Council motion accepting the Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Round 3 funding authorized by the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act of 2020 in the amount of $1,615,818 from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to fund various city administered programs, and authorizing the interim city manager, city manager, or a designee to execute all agreements, amendments, certifications, and documents necessary to accept and implement the funding. B would be city council motion approving the funding recommendation of city staff to directly allocate CDBG CV3 funds to city administered programs, approving a fiscal year 2019-2020 CDBG, ESG, and Home Annual Action Plan, substantial amendment totaling $1,615,818 for city-administered CDBG CV3 programs, and authorizing submission of the fiscal year 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan, substantial amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. C, City Council resolution of appropriation to appropriate Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act funding in the amount of $1,615,818 for CDBG CV3 available to expanded through September 30th, 2022. D, Housing Authority motion approving the funding recommendation of city staff to directly allocate CDBG CV3 funds to city administered programs, approving a fiscal year 2019-2020 CDBG, ESG, and Home Annual Action Plan, substantial amendment totaling $1,615,818 for city administered CDBG CV3 programs, and authorizing submission of the fiscal year 2019-2020 Annual Action Plan, substantial amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you. Interim City Manager Rubik Golanian.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Agajanian, members of City Council, and members of the Housing Authority, Housing Chair Devine. I'm going to turn it over to Onik Bulanikian, our Director of Community Service and Parks, for a presentation on this item, and he will seek Council's direction on the allocation of the round 3 of CARES Act funding. Thank you.
Mr. Bulanikian.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Agajanian, members of the council, Housing Authority Chair Devine, and members of the Housing Authority. I have a quick presentation to review our CARES Act funding that we received round 3. Just a brief background, on March 27th, the President signed the CARES Act allocating $5 billion in CDBG CV funds. Round 1 was awarded to Glendale on April 2nd in the amount of $1,175,000, and round 3 was awarded September 11th in the amount of $1,615,000. CARES Act eligible activities, the funds must be used to prevent, prepare, and respond to COVID-19. The activities must meet the HUD national objective, which benefits low to moderate income households, eliminate slum and blighted conditions, and address an urgent need. Activities include public service activities, housing related, public improvements, economic development, and general administrative and planning activities. Back in spring, when COVID pandemic first began, our round 1 allocation of $1,179,000, we proposed and you had approved 3 programs. The rental assistance program, we had allocated $572,500. The small business grant program, another $572,500, and $30,000 for the senior nutritional meals program. The CV3 method of allocation is the same as round 1. Council and Housing Authority can allocate to city administered programs. We can award it to community organizations and nonprofits through a request for proposal, or any of the combination of option 1 and 2. For round 3, similar to round 1, staff is recommending City Council and Housing Authority to directly allocate round 3 funds to city administered programs. The proposed funding allocation plan, 20% will go to program administration in the amount of $57,000, and 15%, $1,558,000, We'd like to continue our education connection program. We would need 950,000 to extend and expand the program, and use Civic Auditorium as a medical point of dispensing for COVID vaccinations for the residents in Glendale in the amount of 608,000. Total funding is 1,615,000.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bulanikian.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on education connection program just briefly?
Yes, that will be, that's coming up on the next couple slides.
Okay.
Would you like me to
All right,
move forward?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Bulanikian.
Okay, thank you. So program administration, we will have current staff. We'll move staffing around, we'll move them around from one program to another so they can plan and oversee the program administration for round 3. They will work with HUD and compliance of all CARES Act CDBG eligible activities. So the education connection program, here's information about the program. We currently operate the program at a few of our sites, 5 sites. We have 10 pods. City Council allocated 250,000 in Measure S funds. And we are also using close to about 360,000 in One Glendale funds to operate the fall program. The Education Connection basically is a program that is run Monday through Friday between 7 a.m. and 2. We provide school care. Our employees help the students in remote learning. They also assist in homework help and childcare. And then the Maple Park After School Day Camp program runs between 2 and 6 p.m. And for that program, we charge $70 a week. The morning program, the 7 a.m. to 2, is a free program. And the Maple Stars Camp is $55 per week. And for Glendale residents and for non-Glendale residents, it's $70. The program that we would like to extend and expand would be no cost from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it will run through January 2021 through June of 2021. As long as Glendale Unified is in the distant learning model, we will continue to be on the same schedule as Glendale Unified. So as I mentioned earlier, we would like to offer 3 additional pods. We are currently offering 10 pods at 5 locations. We would like to expand to Spar Heights Community Center, add 2 pods there, and add an additional pod at Pacific Community Center. I know during our round robins, we were asked to look at additional sites in South Glendale. We can move the 2 pods that we're proposing at Spar Heights. We can add one at Maple Park, and we can add a 4th site, one site at Griffith Manor. Both of those locations are in South Glendale. We're hoping to fill all the pods, having 156 participants per week, maximum of 12 students per pod. Locations will be at Civic Auditorium, Dunsmore Community Building, Glen Oaks, Maple Park, Spar Heights, if council decides to have it at Council and Housing Authority decide to keep it at Spar, or move the Spar Heights, either at one at Griffith and one at Maple Park, and continue the 3 pods at Pacific Community Center. The second program we'd like to recommend is the medical point of dispensing. Staff has been working with LA County on having LA County come in and using Civic Auditorium as a medical point of dispensing once when COVID-19 vaccines are available to the public. This will be a 6-month operation, if not longer. It requires 28 staff, 12-hour shifts. So we like to provide 15 to 18 staff, and county will provide the rest. Our staffing will include recreation staff, personnel from police and fire and public works for traffic control, estimated cost for operation is $608,000. There are a number of cities that are opening up their facilities for MPODs. The county will have a list of cities providing MPODs in the next couple of weeks. That information is not readily available. And county will get back to us hopefully by mid-January. The timeline to allocate funds for these programs, we did have a 5-day public comment period, and the comments are included in the report under Exhibit 2. Today's meeting, which will require City Council and the Housing Authority to approve the annual action plan substantial amendment. The negative declaration, which we are working on with Planning Department. We will post the City Council recommendations for a 5-day public comment period. And then we will submit, hopefully within the next 6 weeks, we will submit our annual action plan to HUD. So we are recommending $57,000 for program administration, $950,000 for our EdCamp, $608,000 for our MPOD program. And we're asking the council and housing authority to appropriate $1,615,000 and approve the submission for our round 3 funding for CDBG CARES Act.
Is there any question from Mr.
Questions?
Bolanica?
I have
Ms.
some
Devine?
Sure.
questions.
Ms. Devine.
Thank you, Onig, very much. You mentioned that there are non-residents that are involved in this STARS program, or is it STARS?
Yes,
What kind of percentage do we have of non-residents?
33% of our enrollment are non-Glendale residents, 67% are Glendale residents.
Wow, where are they coming from?
Burbank, LA, Pasadena area. So this program is open to Glendale residents and non-Glendale residents. But what we've seen is Glendale employees that work in Glendale, let it be City of Glendale employees or employees that work in the Glendale workforce, need childcare, and they're bringing their children to our program for childcare.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What happens to the funding for this program if the schools open before June 2021?
We will come back to council and the housing authority to reallocate funds.
Okay, all right. Now on the item about the South Pods and I guess you said close the Spar Heights and open Griffith and Maple.
Yes, as since the report was turned in, we're recommending Spar Heights. But since we had, there were questions about allocating more facilities in South Glendale.
Right.
We can add an additional pod at Maple Park, and we can open up Griffith Manor for one pod at that facility.
Okay, so my question then is, does Spar Heights have openings that have not been filled that we could, I mean, it's not like there's a wait list or something to get into Spar, so that we would, not be taking that away from, 100 kids or something if we closed that one and moved it to Griffith or Maple?
For the fall session, Spar Heights was not used because we had a minor renovation. We replaced the carpets, sanded the hardwood, painted the interior. So Spar Heights was not available for the fall season.
Okay.
So it won't affect any of the current enrollments because we don't have the program there.
Okay. And so I asked for more, and I know that Councilmember Kasakian did as well. So this hopefully this will service the South Glendale kids, make this program more available to them. And my other question was concerning the COVID. Let's see, where is it? The COVID. LA County is going to have staff members there too, and we are not going to be paying for those staff members, are we? We are only paying for our own staff out of this allocation for the medical point of dispensing.
Yes, the CARES Act funding will only pay for City of Glendale staff. We are working with LA County on an MOU. The MOU does state that the county will reimburse the city. We don't know how much of those funds will be reimbursed. If the county will reimburse the city at 100%, we will come back to council and reallocate those funds.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there any other, Mr.
yeah,
Brotman?
Yeah, I had the same question on the, and we discussed this during the briefing on the vaccine program. So what you just said that the county may be reimbursing us, and I think you were going to check to see whether other neighboring cities are also using their own either CARES funds or their general funds to to fund these operations, because it does seem like this should be a county expense, right?
Yes, we have Mayor Agajanian and Housing Chair Devine. We have asked our neighboring cities. They don't know yet how they're going to be paying for their MPODs. I was on a director's call earlier this afternoon. Most of the cities in LA County will be operating MPODs. They're working on agreements. They are finalizing within the next couple of weeks. Once we get more information, we'll share with council. LA County, we did send some questions into LA County yesterday, and they're looking into answering those questions in terms of funding and also operating the MPODs. Our goal is to have LA County reimburse us and pay for the entire operation A to Z. But if for some reason LA County will not be available to pay for those funds, or they won't have any funds available, we will like to at least charge the CARES Act round 3 to limit the expenses from the general fund.
And then, excuse me, Mr. Brotman, if Mayor?
Yes.
Then if LA County is going to reimburse us, then we can reallocate the entire 600,000 to other programs.
Yes.
Okay.
So what we want to do now is submit an allocation plan, an annual plan to HUD, so we can at least get the Education Connection program going, because that's going to start in January. And if there are any changes and we get more information for the MPODs, then we'll come back to council and provide a update on the MPOD operation.
Thank you.
And one follow-up question. So we're going to have a bunch of people at the Civic Auditorium, right? Like you mentioned, fire, police, I forget who else you mentioned. So are people going to be working overtime to staff this, or are we taking resources away from other activities that we have going on in the city?
For park services, park staff, it will be on regular time. I'm not sure about police and fire. I would think it would be overtime. LA County is asking for one ambulance operator to be on site during the distribution of the vaccine, just in case. But we will talk to police and fire. But I'm talking to Burbank yesterday, their emergency operations coordinator. They're going to have their staff work overtime to distribute the vaccine and work the MPODs.
Okay. Because, I mean, obviously it's great that we have this in our community. We don't have to, like you were saying yesterday, I mean, we don't have to go over to, Dodger Stadium or something to get our vaccine. So that's great. I would definitely like to like you to keep us informed on any reimbursements and also any impacts to, other services in the city, because we're, diverting people into this, if we are, unless we're doing overtime. So those are the only concerns I have.
Thank you.
Yeah, once LA County gives us the plan, we'll share it with council and housing authority.
All right, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Mr.
Pataki.
Mayor. Yeah, I just want to thank staff for bringing this forward. And, we've been all talking about the impacts of COVID, and childcare is one of the most significant ones. So I appreciate, I've actually seen from afar. I visited one of the sites and I was able to observe what staff does, and it's very impressive and very necessary. So I'm glad we're expanding this, and we're expanding it to parts of the city that I feel where people are most impacted. So thank you. Good work.
Mr. Najarian, do you have something to add or question, or I go to,
No, I have nothing to add.
okay.
I agree with the allocation of money
All
to the
right,
city's programs.
thank you. For the items 1, 2, and 3, do I have a motion?
I'll move those items.
I'll second them.
Okay, roll call, please, for city council meeting.
Councilmember Brotman,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Agajanian.
Yes. Ms. Devine?
And for housing, item number 4. Do I have a motion?
Yes,
I'll
I
move it
move
for
the item.
housing.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Authority Member Agajanian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Parazian,
Yes.
Chair Devine.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn for council.
Second.
And
And
adjourn.
housing,
Okay, second.
is there?
I'll move it. I'll move it.
And Dan, thank you. We are adjourned. Housing is.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. All right. Now
Are you
we
ready,
go-
Mr. Jimian? Jimian? For housing?
Authority Member Agajanian,
Present.
Brotman,
Here.
Kasakian,
Here.
Najarian,